Hello class, welcome to another Ed Puzzle video done by yours truly, Mr. Nguyen. And today we will go over 4.5 graphs of sine and cosine, part 2. So we already went over what A, C, and D is, which is the amplitude, the vertical shift, and the horizontal, or what we call phase shift. But now we haven't gone over the B, which is what will affect the period. And from there, you please write this down. B affects the period of your trig graph. Period of the parent sine and cosine graphs equals 2 pi. So if you know what your B is, then your new period, the formula for that will be 2 pi over B. All right. And you're like, okay, so what is that used for? Can you give us an example? Of course, this is what I am here for. So our y equals sine 2x. Here's a new period. So you would plug this in to 2 pi divided by, and your b is 2. Once you do that, you get your answer, which is pi. So now our one full cycle must be completed within a length of pi. So you're like, okay, how do we do that? So you see how in sine it ends at 2 pi? Now since our new cycle ends, it says the new period is pi, it ends at pi. So that means we have to remember that right here is where it starts. This was our middle, but now our middle was divided by 2. So our pi divided by 2 now is pi over 2. And then our pi over 2, our new point for pi over 2, if you divide by 2, is pi over 4. So now that's our new 1. And you could tell right here should be where our negative 1's at. And then we get the new graph. All right. So for this one, part B, all I want you to do is tell me what the new period would be. So new period equals what? I will pause the video right now. Once you are done answering the question, we will continue. Now that you've done this one on your own, let's see how you did, just to search for a new period. So for this one, we know that it's going to be 2 pi over 4. And then 2 pi over 4 is the same thing as pi over 2. And now you see that for cosine, where it ends was 2 pi and that equaled 1. Now it ends right there, which is 2 pi divided by 4, which is pi over 2. And if you want to check the other points as well, then you have pi divided by pi divided by 4, which is pi over 4, which would be right here. So you'll get something like this. I know it's smaller, but you can always find the points by just dividing each of the stuff by 4. Like 2 pi over 4 will be pi over 2, which is our new period. And then you could find a point where pi used to be at for -1. You just get that, pi divided by 4, you get pi over 4. And the rest will be simple. And as you can see, the bigger the number here is, you see how it condenses the new period, so it makes it smaller. Well, we want to go over that because imagine if the b is actually a fraction instead of a number bigger than 1. So we're going to start off with the same thing. So it's to be 2 pi divided by 1/2. And you see this actually changes our new period to be 4 pi. So since this was a sine graph, as you can see, our parent, I would like to use that as a comparison because now instead of it being 2 pi, we know that it was 4 pi. So now when we find that, we can check where pi is, and we know that it was 2 times 2 to get 4 pi, so all we need to do is 2 times pi, which now our next one is 2 pi. We still keep the 0 there. And if you want, you could do pi over 2 times 2, which is pi. And then pi over 2 times 2, which is 3 pi. And now we have our new section. If you're wondering how I did that, like I said, I'm just multiplying each of my old section by 2, which is 0 times 2 is 0. Pi times 2 is 2 pi, so that's one of my new points. Pi over 2 times 2 was pi, so now that's my new point for when is 1. And etc, etc. Alright. Now this example is a little different. You see it's y equals cosine of pi x, but now our b is pi. So that means that our formula will be 2 pi divided by pi. That will cancel, and then we will get 2 as our new period. And you're like, that is really weird. Don't worry. So what will happen is, you see, for every 2 pi, or for all your answers, you'll just divide it by pi. So 2 pi divided by pi, you get this now, which is 2. And then you would get 2, pi divided by pi, which is 1. So 1 would be somewhere right here. And it will look something like this. And I'll use a different graph just so you can see that where my points were. So at 2 pi, if you divide it by pi, that would be 2. So my new period right here is 2. 3 pi over 2 divided by pi is 3 over 2. So that should be somewhere right here. Pi divided by pi is 1. So at that section, that is -1. Pi over 2 divided by pi is 1/2. So now this is my new point. And 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So here's my how the graph would look like if my b was pi. All right. Now lastly, this is something I wanted to do. I will have you do something on your own. But first off, this is combining it all together. And we're not going to graph it. I just want you to see that if you have this and you see that there's a 2x minus pi over 2, what I want you to do is 1 equals 1/2 sine of 2. We're factoring the 2 from the parentheses, so we get x. Once you do that, this will be pi over 4 instead, and then plus 1. All right. So for this one, I would like for you to describe to me each transformation. Once you are done, we will continue through the video. All right. Now that you've described the transformation for me, so what we should get at is that 1/2 is our amplitude. So that's our new vertical, our new, the distance for how our midline will be, the distance between the midline and the maximum minimum. So that's what our amplitude does. It just affects the vertical stretch or compression. As you can see, it will compress. And then the 2, this one right here, this was our B, and this will just change our period to be our new period, which is 2 pi over 2, which is now pi. The pi over 4 will shift the graph pi over 4 to the right. So this will be able to shift the graph pi over 4 to the right. And then this plus 1 will just shift the graph up by 1. And this is our video. If you have any questions, comments, or concern, please let me know now. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.